This is the rear clutch of the CH80 right here. Now this has not been out of the bike since it was new. So I decided I was going to tear it down just because your repairs are only as strong as the weakest link. Or if you repair 9 out of 10 things, the 10th thing won't make it run right. So what I've done here is just set a little bit of oil or grease in the on the inside there. For some reason, I cleaned that out. Put a little bit of grease on the two inside bearings. Check the outer and inner bearing; they work fine. This is a bell housing right here, and you can see the scratches on there. Okay, well that's glazing from the brake pads. When the brake pads, clutch pads get hot, they disintegrate. But if they have a glazing on them like this, a little bit, okay, what they do is they slip in the clutch when it's supposed to go from one gear to another, so it doesn't work smoothly. Now when they talk about clutch springs, you have 3 of these. These are called triple clutch springs, okay? They're throwout springs. The faster this clutch spins around, the more these shoes go outwards and they grab onto the inside of this bell housing. Alright? These you just generally don't mess with. I have a whole bunch of them, different tensions and everything else. I've never found them to be any stock is just perfect on that. Now, between the clutch and this is called a clamshell pulley right here is this little spring. That's called a center pulley clutch spring, a center spring. This is a spring that after so long or so many years, it loses its tension. What the spring does is it holds the pulley right here in the center here. The pulley is all the way extended so that the belt right here will ride on the very inside. All right. Now, when this closes, and it will close, the belt rides on the very top. It's hard for me to explain the theory behind it, but the spring is designed at such an RPM that this pulley is going to open or close and go smoothly from first gear to second gear or low gear to high gear. When the spring becomes weak, it opens the pulley too quickly and you lose power because there's not a smooth transition for the belt to go from the outside of the pulley to the right down here to the inside. And here it goes from the inside in low gear and it will travel all the way up to here for high gear. They just kind of switch. It's hard for me to explain. This is a variator right here. I was going to take it off, but there's no real reason for me to do it without a spring. And it doesn't look like it's working too bad. This is a top plate, variator plate, and it has fins on it. A lot of them don't have fins. This is good for not ventilation, keeping it cool. So what I'll do is I'll go in and I'll take all this little grease out. There's a tiny little bit of grease on the seals, which is fine. Okay, now if there was a bunch of it, that would prove that this seal right here, transmission seal, is no good, and the oil that's behind it is leaking through somehow. If you buy cheap seals from Fly-By-Night Industries or somewhere like that, they're gonna fail on you. And when they fail, you're just gonna have to go back and do it again. If you want to do it right with your seals, anything rubber, anything, you go genuine Honda. I don't care what the price is. Okay, they've taken years just to develop that rubber, so that it works in Antarctica, Sub-Sahara, Mars, the Moon, Northern Russia, rain, sleet, hail, everywhere. Okay, the cheap replacements will last you a little while and then they'll fail. And when they fail, I got to go back and do this all over again. So that's just a couple of tips. This is your starter gear right here. The starter is behind it. What this does is, when it's electrified, that little tiny gear in there turns the motor and starts it. Now, a lot of these bikes have an electric start, and on the other side, which this one does not, they have a Kickstarter. Now, the Kickstarter is always nice, because if something goes wrong with the electric starter, well, you've got to replace the whole thing. But if you have a Kickstarter, you can bypass that thing. But it just depends on the model. The clutch has been totally torn down. This is the way it's done. I have the tools, special tools that nobody's got. These wrenches or these nuts right here, and a special clutch cage that you need. In Hawaii, they do it with their feet, and it's very dangerous, because you have to put the spring on, and you have to press it down with your foot on the clutch, and you got to get the clutch so far down to put the nut on, and if you don't get it just right, it'll pop right up and hit you in the face. And of course, the Hawaiian boys, they're really good at it, because they are the moped riders of the world. They are the best of the best. I mean, I've never seen a Honda 50 that can outrun a 600 CBR. But there's a gentleman in Hawaii that has one. His name is Sir Dave Toba. And I would love to see that bike. That guy is an engineering genius. Anyway, Dave, if you're out there, I just want to say hello and thank you for all your help. I got to get this cat out of my garage.